Hello, 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 and happy new year, Angular developers, developer community. It's one of your hosts with the mostest, Mark Texan, joined by the incredible, the fantastic, the outstanding, our fearless, super uber TL, Jeremy Elbourn.
Hi, Mark.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, let's see where people are. We got some people in the building here. People are already lining up. Let's go. What's up, Ben? Oh, Nathan, what's up? What's up? What's up? Who else we got in here with these? What's up with these pink hands today? Mohit, what's up? What's going on? We are loading. Travis, what's going on? Eugene, what's up? Eugene, haven't seen you here in a while. Good to have you. Let's go, Ben. Let's go. I actually sent a note to one of my doctors today, and I was like, and so her nurses answer all of her like emails. So I said, tell the doctor here's this great update on my health, and let's go exclamation point, and I put ps please do not forget to relay the energy. So hopefully they do it. Let's see, Marius, what's up? 3R guy, what's good? Jerome, bonjour, hello, 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 hello. Michael Small in the building. Michael Small, big shout out to you because I see you going hard in the Reddit, for the subreddit for Angular. You're always in there bringing wisdom and good ideas. I appreciate that. We see you, we appreciate you. What's up, Alcatraz? What's going on, Joe Alternate? What's up? Andres, what's going good? What's up?
What subreddit do you spend the most time on?
Ooh, right now, subreddit, I look at Home Gym subreddit a lot. And the other one I spend a lot of time on is FX3. That's one of my favorites. That's the camera model that I have. So I'm always looking at what all the camera nerds, what we're all like doing. What about you?
Probably the woodworking subreddit.
See, hobby-based subreddit, right?
That's what Reddit really shines at, is the hobbies.
I agree to that, actually. The home gym one is where I got a bunch of ideas for what was possible, especially in the small home gym space, because I just have a tiny little corner that I'm turning into like a little workout space for at home. And yeah, I go on Reddit and I'm like reading and seeing people. Some people have these incredible home gyms. Okay, let me say hi to a few more people and then we'll get started. Hello, Mark, what's going on? Okay, Vishal, hello, hello, hello. Matthias, what's up? Good to see you. John, what up? Teyamba, hello, hello, back at you. Let's see. What's up?
I got a good one. r/Balatro from someone here. That's
yeah,
I'm there.
Yeah. That's your game. That's your game.
I recently everybody completed a jokerless Balatro run.
Don't know what that means. Is that good?
It's hard.
Okay. I have no idea. So you gotta hit me up. But David says has a lot of questions. Good. Happy New Year. Evgeny, what's up, man? Good to see you. Abel, what's up? All right, friends. Listen, my favorite friend, our favorite users. Thank you so much. All right, good afternoon. Appreciate you all. So many questions, so many people I want to say hello to, but just know that I see you. We see you. Hello, hello, hello. We see you. We see you. Let's see. Is this a question? I can road road monster for your home gym. Cool. I ain't got no room for a light rack. You see, Lars, you don't understand how little space I have here. But I'm gonna check it out though. Definitely gonna check it out. You sound strong if you got a squat rack in your house. You sound very strong. All right. Oh, Jeremy, you getting some props.
Yeah. You got to go for 4 of a kind, and you got to get a lot of glass cards towards the end. It's the only way.
Okay. Don't know anything about that. So much to talk about, but let's talk about something cool. Let's do this. Jeremy Elbourn said, friends, that he wanted to show off some APIs.
Yeah. So, we've talked about this before. I do zero preparation for these streams, and so we're gonna go into it a little bit fresh-eyed. So I'm gonna. I've got my IDE here open already. Let me make sure I'm actually getting like my local dev server running. Okay, I've got my local.
I have something else I want you to install.
Install?
Yeah, npm install.
Keylogger for me.
Yeah, hold on. It's the npm install. It is JSON server because I want you to be able to like just do some API calls, and we can define our data and all that kind of stuff like really quickly. Like it's like almost no setup. So I'm gonna send you this
Okay.
JSON server as soon as I can find a way to send it to you. That's not going to show up on the internet and reveal all of our corporate conversations.
I'm not. Neither of us is sharing our screen yet.
Okay, good. All right, this is what I want you to grab at some point once we get everything set up. What's up, Matthew? We see you.
What am I doing?
Playoff weekend. Which play? You know, which playoffs we talking about? I think it's football, right? American football. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Okay, hold on. We got this. Jeremy, you rubbed off on me the other day. I was writing some Angular code for an example, and then when I went to name my component, I did not put the word components in the class name. And I know that's all because of you.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear it.
Okay, why are you sharing the screen? I'll share some more details. Oh yeah.
Well, you shared this repo with me. What am I doing with this repo, Mark?
Well, when it's time for us to make a call, we'll install that with npm, and then that'll let us like have an endpoint that we could like work with. And it supports all the HTTP methods.
But this isn't an npm package. This is a GitHub repo.
Yeah, npm. Well, sure. Okay, wait, hold on. Did I send you the wrong thing? No, I didn't.
What am I installing?
npm install JSON-server in your project, or you can do it globally if you care. But
JSON-. Okay.
Yes. All right. Yeah, it's just npm install.
Cool.
You can do global if you want. But yeah, just install that. Run that in the background.
This is Mark. He's gonna steal all my passwords, empty my bank account.
You see the vision. You need is Bowflex adjustable weights and a total gym. So I do have adjustable weights, John. I have the Nuobel adjustable dumbbells. I got them up to 80 pounds. And then the thing I was really interested in was the wall-mounted Athena from one of the fitness companies. I did not get that. I got something else that's wall-mounted. But yeah, I don't have like a fancy like home gym setup. I just have a flat bench, some dumbbells, and this little wall-mounted machine. But I mean, I'm just rolling, and I'm gonna get super shredded so that way everybody can tell. Like, man, Mark, wait, what? Nice, what? What trousers? Can you see my pants? No, we can't see my pants. Hopefully not. Let's see. I did not try inline team resource for get post to put delete or any means and WebSocket. How interceptors and validators will be like. Okay. Luckily for you, we're gonna do some coding with resource today, right, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do some resource coding. So we'll start looking at some of this stuff. Good question. Yeah, get rid of the suffixes. Listen. All right. I haven't committed to this. I just did it the other day. I haven't committed to this. Can we share our screen as soon as Jeremy gives me the green light? Yep.
Say it again, Mark. Sorry.
The green light to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Go ahead and you can add it to the stream.
Okay.
I can't look at the stream while also sharing my entire screen. Otherwise, I'll create an infinity mirror. So.
Yep. You're good.
All right. Are we up there?
We are. Oh, and friends, today my wardrobe is brought to you by Vintage Angular Swag. As Jeremy gave me a good name for Vintage Angular Swag. But here's our official, brand mark. I'm just wearing my vintage sweater because it's pretty nice. And it says something that my other stuff doesn't say.
I haven't updated my website.
Team member. I like it.
I'm not going to do it now. I should bust out my Angular JS swag at some point. I still have it in a drawer upstairs.
Yeah, next time. All right. Let's see what's going on. What's popping?
So here's what I'm gonna do. This is all the code from our last stream.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Did you update to 19.1?
No.
Okay.
Should I?
I don't think you have to. I was just asking.
I don't think I need to.
Nope.
All right. I think I don't need any of this right now. I'm gonna just delete all of it. And if we end up needing it later, then I'll be filled with regret.
Yeah. I'll be filled with regret.
I won't do anything with that regret. I'll just be filled with it.
Let's see here.
Okay. So what I was going to show off today is the new resource API. I was like, let's actually just go to the docs.
Sure.
We have here in-depth guides, signals, async reactivity with resources. And so this is the good stuff I want to show off. I actually wrote this doc, so I should know it. But I need an endpoint to query, Mark, and so I think this is where you were trying to get me to use this JSON server.
Yeah, I was trying to get you to do that. So from your command line, yep.
Yeah. All right. I got a command line here. I've already installed it.
Good. Now in this project that you're in,
Yeah.
let's just make a db.json file.
Okay. In here, we're gonna say db.json.
All right.
Let's
And then you probably need some data. What are we going to do? We're going to get some help from Gemini for this. What are we going to do?
Whatever you want. Here, stream. What kind of data are we fetching?
What kind of data?
People say chat, don't they? That's what streamers say.
Oh, they say, hey, what's up, chat? What kind of data? Oh, wait. Are we not being teachable? Hold on. Somebody said good programmers are good communicators. Are we not being good communicators? Let us know. Can we do better? Or maybe he's saying because you wrote those docs and they're good. So you are. So the lesson is that you are a good communicator.
I hope they're good.
I think they're good. Pizza data, to-dos. Okay, I'm going to ask Gemini to generate. So here's something really cool that you can do with your prompt engineering. I'm going to ask Gemini to generate some data. Okay, so and I like to say please. I don't know why. I just do. Please generate.
Someone should study where you get better results when you say please.
Types of pizza. Include the toppings, name, and price. We'll do that. Return it in the following formats. There we go. And then I'm gonna say my pizzas array. So here. I wish you could see my screen, but I'm not sharing it. Nope. Pizzas. That's my array. And then we're gonna. So I got to define a pizza element, Jeremy, real quick.
Well, I can't see your screen. Here, I'm gonna take my screen off of the thing real quick. What are you doing?
I'm in Gemini right quick. But I don't know if I can show this one because it's my Google version.
Mm-hmm.
So just try not to leak anything.
Yeah. Oh, so Travis asked, how long did it take me to write the resource doc page? A few hours, maybe like 3 or 4 hours.
Okay, we'll say description. We'll say text. Do you want your ingredients to be a list?
I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter what data we're fetching. I just kind of wanted something thematic.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you right now.
Right. You're gonna. Right. How are you sending this to me?
I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna text you in 1 second. We need price, description. Oh, we say name. Okay, cool. Okay, so see name, price, name, price, description, and ingredients. Yeah, there you go. And then let's see. Where
are you sending this? On Flash?
Jeremy, this is incredible. All right, I'm going to show you all this just because I
Share
really
screen.
I'm going to share. I'm just making sure there's nothing on here that's like,
Yeah, no confidential info.
That's what I'm trying to make sure.
The other thing Google does is like, there's a lot of things that launch early to Googlers for testing, and so you gotta be careful about sharing your screen.
Right, that's what I was like so stressed out. I'm just like, do not share anything that is not okay. No, okay, everybody knows about this. This is not a secret. Okay, whew. All right, not gonna get fired today. Not gonna get fired. Okay, so here's what I said to Gemini. I was like, hey, include these parts, and then did you add me to the stream yet? Okay, I'm on. Okay, great. And then I said return it in this format, right? So I kind of lined up the format. Oh, that's too many Z's for pizza, but you can take that off. And then it fixed it for me, and then it made everything that I want. And now you just paste this into your db.json, and that's it.
So send it to me.
I will. So friends at home, this is one of the ways I really love to use AI tooling to help empower me to do stuff, right? Like, look at that. And we could extrapolate that as far as we need to like get more data, but just giving it the format that I wanted just made it super easy. And then we're going to use db.json.
All right.
Okay, now from your command line, all you got to do here is save it, and then from the command line, just start the server.
How do I start the server?
It should be in those.
I've read no documentation, Mark.
I know.
I'm only just like basing it on what you tell me.
I know. Let's see. Start JSON server. I forgot how to do it, but let's see this. Yeah, it is just npm something. npx.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just type it to you, but yeah, it's JSON server and your DB in the location db.json, and then you have a API right there, and we can write to this thing because it'd be like in memory, so it'll work.
Okay. So let's test it. I should be able to go to this endpoint and Chrome will show me.
Yep. Boom.
Preprints that. All right. So let's try to create a resource then. So we've got a component here, and we're going to call this const pizzas. I don't know. I haven't really thought that much about naming these yet. I'm going to call it pizza resource, and that is going to be equal to resource, which we're going to import from Angular core. This autocomplete did not put the right thing there. I don't know where that came from. And so let's go over to the docs here. I'm going to minimize my terminal and make this a bit bigger.
Wait, Yell, I should have. I should have been like, hey, Jim, how you start this? Listen, I am trying in my hardest to not become a person who's like forgotten how to do things, because I'm just like, I'm just going to ask. Like some things I still want to do the good old fashioned way. They don't like you to put const there because that's a field and not a variable.
All right. So let's go ahead. There's going to be 2 parts to our pizza thing here, right? We're going to need a request. So this is the actual like HTTP request we're going to make.
Wait, Jeremy, you're giving people the wrong idea by line 12.
Why?
Because I think it's functional. That should be read only.
Oh yeah, I shouldn't have put const there. Read only. I'm just
I know you're cooking.
I just got back from vacation. I'm rusty.
Yeah, no. People are like, oh, that's functional programming. He's giving a sense about the future.
That's going to be that, and it's going to return something. So I think the thing we're going to do is, I also need to look at the MDN docs. MDN fetch. I'm going to look at regular fetch API. Just going to call all the docs for everything I'm doing.
Sure, go for it. Deborah Carrata also made a video on using Google AI Studio with Angular project. Shout out to Deborah Carrata. Shout out to AI Studio for sure.
It's going to be async, return, fetch, and then this is request info. So I don't know if this is going to work. I'm just going to say like localhost 3000. What was it? /pizzas. I have no idea if this is actually going to work.
It should. There's no good reason for it not to.
And then I'm just going to go over to my template here.
Yeah.
I'm going to print out pizza resource.value, which I believe is a signal, right? Yeah, so I gotta read that as a signal. And then I want to forward that. Actually, no, rather than just doing this, I'm going to create a computed. That's what I want. So I'm going to say pizzas equals a computed. That is JSON dot stringify this dot pizza resource dot value.
Okay, hold on. David, tag me on Twitter real quick. Or not Twitter. I guess you can. Tag Angular on Twitter. And I'll see.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, so I'm creating a resource here that is going to fetch this localhost pizzas endpoint that Mark had me create, and then creating a computed that takes the value from that resource and JSON.stringifies it. And I suspect that this is gonna throw some errors as we go along the way, but we're gonna go on that journey together.
But celebrate the beauty of this. What is the beauty of this? The beauty is that there's an asynchronous thing that you're working with the synchronous signal style API, right? Like, how beautiful is that?
All right, so I got an empty object here. So let's go ahead and start looking at what we got. So first things first, I want to look at the network tab and see, are we actually making a network request? I am. Here's a network request. And let's look at the preview for it. Yeah, I'm getting an actual response back. So that's good. We are actually making a network request and getting some data back. But we're not getting, what am I calling? Like the thing I'm expecting to get. So I think one of the problems here is I'm just calling fetch and I'm not reading anything like body or anything like that. So what happens if I come here and I just come to my console and I just go ahead and run this fetch? Here, what do I get?
Promise.
Yep, here, let's actually just say await. And so I get a response. And the thing that I actually want is in the body, but that's a readable stream, and I just want to read the whole thing right away. So we want to say return await that fetch, and then we're gonna run that. Say body, and then how do I just say, like, I want the whole thing right away? This is why I need a MDN example. Body. What? Not defined. So yeah, so let's say body x equals that, x dot body, readable stream, yeah. I forget how to actually, is it, oh, actually, yeah, it's, hold on, it's, I saw someone in chat say, it's, .json.
Yeah, do the .json.
Yeah. And that also
is a promise. Well, that should be a problem. No, because
it was already read. It was already read.
You already read, yeah.
Okay, so JSON, run that. Await that.
That pattern.
Hey, there's our data.
Why is it complaining? Was that a previous complaint?
I think it was a previous complaint. Yeah. We don't need that anyway. Yep, this is all good.
Okay.
We got our data. And so does this JSON API have a way of like filtering or anything, Mark? Or is that just like, it's just purely just serving whatever's in your little DB?
Purely this. You can, so you want less is what you're saying? You can get one of these. So change it to /1 after pizzas.
/1?
Yep.
All right.
That might work. I don't know if we put any IDs. Oh, we didn't put any IDs.
All right, we can add IDs real quick.
You want me to add an ID?
I got them. Yeah, we're gonna say ID 1 and oops, it's the quote. We're just gonna here. I'm gonna try to do it like I should do this the professional way. So find, select all occurrences, home, ID. Oh, hold on, I messed that up. Let's try it again. This is how the professionals do it. They select all occurrences, and then... Oh yeah, that's not working because this data is not consistent. Something is not consistent in here. I'm just going to manually add an ID real quick.
I'm going to manually add an ID. If I finish before you, you can just have mine.
I'm going to beat you. It's a race now. Or...
Come on, Gemini. Yes, you can. Done. Okay. All right. You got it, but just in case.
I'm so close. There's so many pizzas in here. I'm just going to delete. Yeah. I don't need more than 11 pizzas. I'm just going to delete.
No, don't give up. 14 pizzas.
All right. Now does this work? Does this give me... Do I need to like restart this JSON server?
Yes, you changed the data. I think you got to restart it. I think. I'm not sure. But it's probably safe to just restart it.
Okay, that did work.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So the reason I know about this is because for the Angular tutorial, I implored the power of the JSON server to get people to do this without... You know what the hardest part was, Jeremy? I'm just going to go on a little tiny diatribe here. The hardest part of designing that tutorial was giving developers a way to retrieve data that I could trust that bad actors would not try to abuse. So if we like hosted like some data someplace, how do we keep somebody from like spamming the resource and like, you know what I mean? Like doing all kind of like wild stuff. And I spent more time than I should have researching solutions to give us a way for developers to try this without it being like painful.
I'm just replacing this out into a little thing so I can make this line shorter.
Sure, but somebody's already asking for feature updates.
All right. So this is perfect. This is perfect. Let's go back over to our docs here. And so now that we can actually filter out on the specific pizza we want, we can actually make this request do something. So right now, this request is just a function that always returns an empty object, but that's not how requests work. This request actually wants to like return something. And so let's make it so that we can select different pizzas. And so I'm going to say like selected pizza ID. Well, let's just say like selected ID is a number, and we're going to initialize it to 1. So that's our first thing. And it's not just a flat value, though. We're going to want this to be a signal. And so that's a signal of 1. And I'm going to make sure we import that. It's importing it. What's wrong? Number. Oh, because I left this number here. We'll just do that. And so now we're going to say for our request, we're going to insert here an ID. And it's just this selected ID. We're reading that. This is our request object. And this is evaluated kind of like computed. So when this selected ID changes, we're going to get a new request, and resource here is going to call this loader again with the new request. And so what we do need to do is actually get our request here. And here we should be able to say request.id. And yeah, that is all nice and happy. And then the last thing is we just need something that will change this selected ID. And so let's just go ahead and add a little, I'm going to be lazy real quick and just like, I don't know, I'll add a native select here with a label. And we're going to add some options, not option, opt group options. And then we're going to say varchar.
All right, hold on 1 second. Well, do that, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I'm just going to grab margarita and pepperoni for now for like 1 and 2, just so we can see this working.
Okay. If you want, I can give you this.
This shows off the concept well enough, Mark. And then we're going to add little event here. So on change, we're going to say like update ID, and we can just like get this.
Hey, just in case you change your mind, I sent you something.
What did you just send me?
Everything you need for the drop down. So the way I like to use AI to help me when I'm coding and stuff is that I already know what to do, so I can like move quickly to have it do it versus having it do things for me, just for the sake of like, oh, just do this thing. You know what I mean? It's like I knew what we needed and I just described it, and it's like so we can get it. Oh, that works. So if you want the whole list, I sent you the whole list in Slack. If you don't want the whole list,
I'm sharing my whole screen. I don't want to share my whole Slack.
Yeah, don't share your Slack. It's fine.
Margarita wrong. Margarita again. So yeah, so this is actually working. I'm gonna put a really lazy kind of like BRBR here just to like space it out a little.
How dare you?
I know. Don't do this at home, folks. But this is just for lazy demo purposes. But so yeah, we've got this select here, and when I change this to pepperoni, you can see our resource is updating. So let's walk through one more time what's happening here with the resource. So we're creating this pizza resource, and this represents some data that we are getting from an external resource asynchronously.
Yes.
So we're creating that resource, and we're passing in two things. We are passing in a request computation, which works similar to computed, where you can build out this request object that is based on some derived state from whatever signals or whatever computeds you might have in your application. In this case, our request object is an object that just has an ID property, and that's coming from this selected ID here in this component. And we are changing that selected ID based on this select. So whenever we change that, we are updating the value of this selected ID here. And then this resource also has a loader function. This is the part that actually does the asynchronous work. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, that's going to be making a network request and fetching some data. It doesn't have to be a network request, though. It could be something like local storage. It could be an index DB. It could be calling out to a web worker, right? Any asynchronous thing at all. And what we're doing here, just for this demo, is we're just using the native fetch API and fetching some, pizza data and getting the JSON of that back and dumping it onto our page. In real life, you would show some real UI with this, but we're just demonstrating how resource works.
Pause for 1 second because the streets are asking lots of questions. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. I want to stay on task with this first. Can resource be made to not fire on the page load if there is no initial selection yet?
Say that again.
So essentially, how can we delay this so that way, unless they select something, it doesn't fire?
You can do that. So if the request object returns undefined, the loader will not run. So what you could do is say like, oh, I can initialize this selected ID to -1. And then here in my request object, I can say like this dot selected ID equals -1. I mean, yeah, -1. And if it does, I return undefined. Otherwise, I just return my request object. Like it doesn't have to be -1. You could use undefined. Yeah. Now I have to.
Yeah, some type safety you have to go in there.
Yeah, I know. I have seen now that I introduced undefined into the type of request, when I read ID here, it's like, request could be undefined. But because I know I'm doing this check here, then I'm just going to say like, yeah, I know it's not undefined.
Okay, but this was a good question though. I really like this question.
Yeah.
Good one. Okay. Let's talk about this. Can anyone answer me? Yes, we can, Madar. We're with you. Come on, Doraemon. I did not try. Well, I can't. Okay. Will interceptor work on a resource?
So interceptors are totally a separate thing that are going to be based on whatever API you're using to fetch data inside of your loader. And so if in here, instead of using this fetch API, you were using, Angular's like HTTP client in here, then
Right.
yeah, your interceptors would work the same way they normally do.
Okay, let's actually pause for a second, Jeremy, and double click a little deeper into what you just said, because I think that the community of developers are trying to figure out, does the resource replace HTTP client, in the workflow? But that's not really the point of resource.
No, so like resource is really a lower level pattern for dealing with data that you might need to retrieve asynchronously with signals, where signals are, as you read and write them, synchronous.
Mm-hmm.
And so this pattern of saying, like, I'm going to get some asynchronous data and then incorporate it into my synchronous signal reactivity graph, that is kind of what resource is solving here.
Right.
But, this is just the beginning, right? Like resource is kind of the first piece. And one of the things that we are working on next, I'll leave this in a comment, but like coming soon, something like pizza resource equals HTTP resource.
Yeah.
And that would be a little bit closer to what the HTTP client is doing, right? So this is kind of saying like, I am an HTTP client that is like also a resource. That makes sense?
Yes. No, it makes complete sense to me. And I just want to make sure that we kind of socialize this idea, because I think HTTP client has represented some frustrations for developers in some ways, right? And so this seems to be more clear. But then it's like, if this is the way to get asynchronous, but friends, remember, asynchronous data acquisition doesn't only mean like an API request, like an HTTP server, right? It could be any asynchronous like action, right? This is like a broad thing that can be used. I want to call out one more thing. Mohit says, is using native fetch the way forward, or should we still use HTTP client? Can I answer this one? Because I've thinking about this one. I think you should use HTTP client where it serves you in your needs, right? Like think about what you need from the request. Do you need a observable, for example? Do you need some of the other features like interceptors and things that come with HTTP client? Then use it. If you're just going to be calling an API like Jeremy's doing, you can get away with fetch, and it serves your purpose just fine. Would you add anything there, Jeremy?
Yeah, I want to add, so I'm just using fetch here for demonstration purposes, right? In real life, you're almost always going to use some sort of client that is a little bit more sophisticated. But you should use whatever makes sense for your project. If you can use regular fetch and you don't need the features of something more sophisticated, great, that works for you. If you want to use Angular's HTTP client as something that is a little bit more sophisticated, has interceptors, it has a testing story, you can use that. If you were using Apollo to make GraphQL queries here, you could do that. If you were using TRPC and making remote procedure calls here, you could do that.
Yeah.
Resource doesn't care what's happening inside of this loader function. All it knows is that this is some asynchronous function that returns some data.
Yeah.
And you can actually, like, we're not going to make things like this, but, if you use Apollo, right, like there's nothing stopping you from making your own, like Apollo resource, or if you use, I don't know, if you use like TRPC, right, like you can say like TRPC resource, right, like you could make your own versions of resource that are custom tailored to a particular data fetching client.
Good.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more about resource I wanted to show off too, that I feel like we're not necessarily going to see since I'm serving this data locally, but let's go ahead and try it. So another thing that we have access to.
Hold on 1 second. I want to make one clarification. So sorry, because somebody commented, and I want to make sure that we're clear. Nobody's saying HTTP client is not good. Evgeny, like it's great. Nobody's saying that at all. So let's make sure. But do people have to use HTTP client? I do not think that that's the only way. That's all. But good question. Good clarification. Okay, off we go.
Yeah. So yeah, like the thing I'll say, like in software, right? Like everything that you can use, all of the libraries, all of the packages, like they are tools, and tools are good at some things and they're not good at other things. And so part of the difficulty of being a programmer or being a software engineer is choosing the right tool for the right problem. And I am going to show here. So the resource has more than just the value. We also have the some information about the loading state. And again, these are also signals. And let's just go ahead and put these in paragraph tags instead of putting VRs. There. So we have our like is loading false, status is 0. I guess I should like, there's an enum for this status, right? This is resource status. And so these are all just like numbers. So you can see that 0 is idle, which means it's currently not doing any work. And so let's go ahead and I'm going to change this and we're going to see if this, oh, see, it's too fast. You can't actually see it. I wonder if I can throttle.
You can on your computer, yes, in your browser.
So I'm going to say throttle. I'm going to say 3G. So that's going to be pretty slow. And I'm going to change this to pepperoni. And so, yeah, we can see now is loading is true. Status was briefly 2, and then it went to 4. And so if we look at these statuses, we see like 2 is loading and 4 is resolved. And so at this point, it's no longer loading. Status is resolved. And so you can use this status and this is loading, these properties, in order to show, loading indicators or anything else you might want to show. We can also show errors. So let's go ahead and add another option here. I'm going to add 999 for missing no pizza.
Whoa, intense.
Right? Like this is a pizza we don't have. And what happens when I go ahead and select that? We see it's loading. And so here, now we know is loading is false, and this says status of 1. We can go back to that and we say status of 1, error. So we actually got an error here. And let's go ahead and print out that error because the resource also has an error property. Let's try that again. Refresh our page. And we say select this here. And oh, because I'm trying to parse the JSON and it's an error. So
yeah.
So this is the error, but
because not found is yeah.
Yeah, I need to like refactor this a little, but like const response equals.
Right.
No, that's wrong.
No, after you refactor,
go ahead. What?
I said after you refactor, let's answer some questions because this is stirring a really good conversation.
Yeah. What am I gonna say? Response and then JSON equals that and const error equals await response. I actually don't remember how to get the error out of here without adding a catch block. Status text. Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head how to get the error, but we can just say like try. Whoops. Return that catch. Let's see. What am I gonna do in the catch case here? I'm just gonna say like return error not found. Is that gonna do what I want? Let's find out. So let's go ahead and select our missing no pizza. See our loading, and then yeah, we got our error pizza not found from this this error state here, and that is coming in to this error property.
Hey, be
Or no,
nice.
it's
You
not.
said
That's
it
the
doesn't look
value.
nice.
That's the value. But like, there's I handled the error. Whoops, I didn't mean
Yeah.
to. Hand wave. You get the idea. You can show the
Yeah.
error if you have an error.
All right.
All right.
Let's
What
pause
question?
for a few questions. Let's see. We're gonna do. I like to keep the questions kind of focused on what we're doing now. So I want to. So if you ask a question that's not about what we're doing now, I do have it still. I'm gonna try to get to it. Okay. Let's see. So this says. Just Progress says, so if I also had filtering options on that API, those could also go in request. And if I use that in the loader, it will dynamically reload as the filters change. So I think I get this question. If the values of the signals in the request change, will that re-trigger my loader?
Yes. So that is why this request here is a function, because it kind of acts like a computed.
Yes.
When you are whenever you're changing the signals in here, this will recompute the request and the loader will fire again.
And you're doing that with your drop down. Technically, you're kind of showing that with the drop down.
Yes, that is exactly what this select is doing here. And so
right.
I can demonstrate that one more time. I'm going to turn off this throttling now.
Oh, you offended me when you said that, by the way. You said
what?
3G was very slow. And I'm from a time where 3G was the fastest internet that you could get. All right. So I'm offended as an older developer.
I mean, I was there too. I was in school before there were smartphones. I was walking around with a flip phone in my like senior year of high school.
Hello, dude. T9 texting, baby. All right.
All right. So yeah, so as I change the select, then we can see that the request changes and we're getting a different ID in this request, and the loader's firing again, and I get the different pizza data. And I fixed my error demonstration by now, making it so that the loader just like throws an error. And when the loader throws an error, that error will be surfaced through
good.
Through the like error value from the resource. What I was doing before, when I returned a value, I was actually just like returning a value, which wasn't what I meant to show off.
What if my request returns a list? How could I proceed if I need to request / make multiple HTTP requests?
So yeah, you can do anything you want inside of this loader function. So if you want to make multiple requests, you could make those multiple requests and say like promise.all.
Yeah.
And wait for them. If you wanted to do some transformation of that data before you show it somewhere, you could do that, right? Although what you would probably want to do in reality is just return the raw data from your resource.
Yeah.
And then have a computed that does the transformation over it as
clean
separate piece.
That's clean. I actually really like that idea. Okay. Can resource be used in a service component? Yes.
Yep.
You can use it anywhere you want.
Anywhere you want. There's no special Angular like compiler magic or anything like that happening with resource. This is just a plain old JavaScript API.
Very good call out there. Thank you for that. Possible to use RxJS inside the loader? Yep, it's code.
There is also an Rx resource. We don't have documentation for that yet, do we? I don't remember writing any.
Sounds like we got another project we got to do.
Yeah, so I don't think we actually do have any guides for Rx resource right now. There's probably some like API reference for it. Yeah, so there's Rx resource here. We don't have a guide for this, but it is in the API reference. It's experimental, so it's still a little early. So is resource, by the way. But
yeah, let's see. Is there anything else I want to? Okay, so the rest of the questions are more high level questions. So if we got like 10 minutes left of the stream, how do you want to do it? You want to do a little bit more coding?
Yeah, we can leave the coding there and just like answer questions in chat for the rest of this. I'll remove my code from the screen. I'll bring it back in if I'm answering a question where code will help.
Okay. Jeremy, now that your long-standing practice of naming components is now the style suggestion, what would you do on streams for gasps? That's pretty funny.
I don't know. I'll have to think of my next hot take. Yeah. Technically, the style guide hasn't been updated yet. There's still a bunch of work that needs to happen in order to make the style guide change land. Need to update the tools, need to update schematics, need to like reach out to like Angular ESLint and all of that. So I have a lot to do before V20 if I want to land it in V20.
Yeah. All right. Hi, I have two suggestions on the Angular team. One, add view transition as default route navigation, and two, add string interpolation in CSS style like in HTML. Oh, so they want to be able to like in your.
So on the first one, like I don't 100% follow what it's asking. Like if the request is to add a default transition so that like by default it's like sliding over.
Yeah,
we would never do that. We want to make sure that people are not kind of getting animations or anything else like that they don't actually want in their app, right? Like when you start off, you shouldn't have to be like fighting against defaults that are doing something that you don't want.
But I think more importantly, what Halim is asking is like, can we have view transitions enabled by default? Because you have to enable them to work in the router. They're not on by default in general.
And then for the second one here of like interpolations in CSS, there's no way this is ever happening. There is no way to implement something like that in a way that would be performant, and it would be a really large overhead to make something like that work. CSS variables are really the way to go if you want to change granular styles like that.
Yeah. Will there be a signal forms in the near future?
Yes. It's in progress.
Is there type safety on that for the request?
Yes. So if I come in here and I say on this request, you saw this already when I like added this.
All right, I'm gonna add you back.
But if I say like ID in caps, which doesn't exist, it'll give me an error and say like, property ID does not exist on type ID number. So I have to go back to the right ID property. All right. Yeah, you added me back. I forgot I wasn't presenting it again.
That's okay. That's why we work together. All right. This is a good question. Julio asks, what's the difference between force and not force in the signals migration?
I think this is talking about the signal input migration, right? And it is a question of whether or not the migration will make a change that it is not sure will break you. So if you run it by default and you don't do the force, it almost like not guarantees, but it is like it should not break anything in your code. Like your code should still compile and run exactly the same way it did before. But if you say force, there is a chance it will introduce breakages in places where the migration can't guarantee that it is going to work. So if you're feeling like you want to be a little bit more aggressive and you use force and you're willing to go manually fix up some breakages after, you can use that. But it will get more migrated.
Okay. Wait. We are ditching Ninjedi. Don't come in here starting stuff. You know we're not ditching observables.
No. So I'm gonna give you the line that I repeat over and over again. I try to say this at every conference and every time it comes up. Is we've gotten a ton of feedback over the years. It's over 10 years of Angular, and we get about an equal amount of feedback of I don't like RxJS and it's too complicated, and RxJS is the best thing ever and I want more of it. And so our strategy with everything we're doing with signals and the RxJS interop package is to make it so that RxJS is optional. It's not on the critical learning journey for Angular. New people can come, they can use Angular, they don't have to use RxJS. But when you do choose to use RxJS, that integration is better than it ever has been.
Ooh, good point. All right, let's keep going because there's a few people waiting here, doing their best to get to your questions, friends. Let's see. There are senior developers using an argument that Angular is so complicated. And it's a human resource argument. They are telling that every year it's more difficult to find Angular devs in Spain. So this person was asking about what's an argument that they could say For this, here's what I actually have a good answer for this. Our documentation has some Y Angular content on there. I would read that and then get some information from there as a good starting point.
Yeah, I mean, there's some content on the docs. I think, like, I don't know, like, for like full transparency, right? There are some parts of Angular that are complicated, and we're working on simplifying those things, right? And the thing we were talking about with RxJS is one of those. So up until, even now to some extent, right? Like RxJS is required to learn Angular. And so that for some people has led to this feeling that Angular is complicated because like not only do you have to come in knowing like, TypeScript and HTML, but you also need to understand a little bit of RxJS in order to use some of the framework APIs. And with the work we're doing on signals and kind of making RxJS optional, then we're trying to simplify that experience so that there's fewer concepts. And so over time, we're working on simplifying some places where we think the framework is more complicated than it needs to be. But also at the same time, Angular is solving a lot more different problems than like other web frameworks. And with other frameworks, right, like you're not just learning the framework, you're learning the ecosystem of all of the things around it. And Angular just has kind of a much bigger surface area of like features and packages and everything. And so you can view it as complicated in that lens of that there's a lot to it, but it's also doing a lot more for you.
Yeah. All right, let's rapid fire some questions. Thanks for your patience on these. Let's see. Sheriff says, what is the best way to pass signal from a component to a service?
However you want.
Yeah, as a property, as a parameter to your function, if you want, right? Like just pass it in. It's just a value. I mean, not just a value, but I mean, it is a type of value that you can pass as a parameter. Like they can be parameters to functions, so you can pass it in. There's not like a special thing to do. So the reason I brought that up, Jeremy, is because one of the things that I think that some developers have with Angular is they think that, and maybe we've given them the perception that there's an Angular way to do, to do certain things. And then as we introduce the new API, sometimes it can be confusing for people to think like, okay, so now we have this new resource API. What are the Angular specific ways to work with it versus I can just work with it as a API in the code, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like one of the pieces of advice I would give to anyone everywhere is stop thinking about like the Angular way of doing something, right? And that is true, I think, for any framework is like, you shouldn't think necessarily about like the React way of doing something or the Vue way of doing something. Just think about like, what is good code? What is like good programming best practices? What are good software engineering practices? Yeah. All of the APIs you have available to from these frameworks, they are tools, and they are tools for solving particular problems. And if you have that problem, great, use that tool. If you have a different problem, consider different tools. And this, this is an analogy to, real world, like physical tools you can hold in your hand. Don't use a hammer when you're trying to drive a screw. You use a screwdriver. Don't use a handsaw when you're trying to, rip a straight line in an 8-foot plywood board. Use a power tool for that. And so, depending on the problem you're trying to solve, pick the tool that will do best for it, even if it's not. I don't know how to say this, but like, not in the like set of APIs or the set of features that are just come out of the box.
Agree. And don't do like I did. When I was remodeling the little space for my home gym, I had to cut off 1 inch of a baseboard. It was about like 13 feet long. And I had to do it with a handsaw because I couldn't get any other hardware stores in my area to cut it for me. That was miserable.
So how long was the piece?
13 feet.
13 feet. So you made a 13-foot rip cut with a handsaw.
With a handsaw for 1 inch only. Don't look closely at my baseboards. That's what I tell people. Don't look too close. You might see some magic. All right, friends. That's it for today. Guess what we did, though? Guess what we did? We did not forget our commitment to build an app together. But Jeremy and I agree that this stream would be really great if we spend some time just showing off some resource APIs and showing off new stuff. But next stream we'll start building out our app. So that's really fun. Can we get the cricket baseboard? You cannot get a picture. I don't even show the pictures to the internet because it is definitely crooked. That's funny though. I'm not insulted by that because it was a little wonky at some. Listen, this is the worst part of the cut. I had to do a miter cut to join two baseboards together, and there wasn't enough caulk in the gun to smooth out how bad that cut was. Because I did it with a handsaw, even with a miter box, it still didn't work.
Tough. That's tough, Mark. You're doing some advanced cutting.
Listen, okay. Jeremy, what are you reading? What are you playing? And what should people check out?
I am reading Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. Finally, I didn't get to it right away when it came out, but I like Stormlight Archive, and so finally making my way through it. Lately, this week I've really just been watching videos from the most recent GDQ. I was on vacation while AGDQ was running.
What's GDQ?
Games Done Quick.
Oh, Games Done Quick, cool.
Yeah, so if anyone's not familiar with this, it is a organization that does fundraisers for charity by running speed running marathons, where video game speed running is trying to beat video games with various conditions in the smallest amount of time possible. And so, you can see a video of someone trying to beat Breath of the Wild in 40 minutes. I think it's actually much less than that now.
What?
And the one I was watching most recently was a run where it's Tears of the Kingdom in about 2.5 hours, all dungeons.
That's incredible.
And it involves taking advantage of glitches in the game. So in this particular run, they take advantage of a glitch in the game where you can basically equip 8 copies of the Master Sword all at once and just blast away anything that comes in your path.
I see. Interesting. Okay. What should people check out?
Boy, what should check out? Check out books from your local library.
All right. I like that.
There's a plug. Local libraries. They're great. Support your libraries.
I agree to that. Now that I think we're aligned with. I think local libraries, especially in the US, are one of the most under appreciated resources that we have that are actually quite fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
What about you, Mark?
I would say, so what am I reading right now? I'm reading 3 books at the same time. I'm reading what's the name of that book I told you about? Hyperion.
Yep, one of my favorites.
It's interesting. It's good. It got good. It started off really confusing because it's such a massive world. But then once you understand what's happening, then you're like, oh, this gets really good. So there's Hyperion. There's another book called Nexus, which is about the history of information in the age of AI, which is really fascinating. I think we talked about this book, Jeremy, last time.
Yeah. I got that book as a gift from my partner for Christmas.
How was it received?
I don't think she started reading it yet, so we'll see.
Okay, hopefully she likes it. But it's a fascinating book. It's just really long. I can't lie to you. I'm not a super fast reader. And then I'm reading this book called Solution Selling, and it's about understanding the user needs. And I'm trying to see what can I learn from that book that can help me create and work with the team to create even better Angular, right? Understanding the needs of our clients and stuff. So I think it's really interesting. I just I finished one of our community members' books. I told you I like to read all of our community's Angular books. So there was a deep dive on change detection, and I was just I'm just going to read the whole thing, because then once we got zoneless coming up and we potentially have maybe a signal component at some point, change detection will become a big part of our conversation. So having a really good understanding of what's happening behind the scenes will help serve developers. Okay, friends. And I'm watching Silo, so people should check out Silo if they haven't. I'm gonna double up the library recommendation. Friends, listen. Every time you hang out with us, we get cooler and cooler and cooler, and you ask us about what framework is good, which framework is not. But I'm going to tell you the same thing we always tell you: no matter what you build, where you build it, how you build it, just do one thing for us: go build great apps. We'll see you the next time. Peace.